Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Crazy Cabin Fever Cocktails, episode
71.
71. There it is. I am Tim Knittel, Distilled Living, and we are produced by Fascination Design. Welcome to Kentucky summer. That came in quick, didn't it? Yes, I got a little bit sunburned. Doing Zoom meetings, sitting out on my patio because that is the new normal. Tonight, Hillary told me, I think she told me earlier, and I wasn't listening, but she told me, I think she claims she told me earlier that I was doing tequila tonight, and then she told me again about 10 minutes ago. And so we're back to our original format of Crazy Cabin Fever Cocktails, of me grabbing stuff and putting it together and trying to make a cocktail out of it. So I said, well, I don't want to do tequila, I want to do a mezcal cocktail. And she was like, well, you're going to have to split the difference because mezcal is really, really, really smoky, and it's going to overwhelm the smoke for a lot of people. It's going to skew the balance. We're not going to have a balanced cocktail. So we agreed that we're going to split the difference. We're going to do an ounce of Patron Añejo and an ounce of Casamigos Mezcal, which actually I think is going to turn out really, really, really well. Now, we've been working on some really, really cool cocktail programming for big conferences that we're not going to announce tonight.
And Afton has done a lot of work on that. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. Thank you, Afton.
Afton crushed it. So we've been working on that for a large part of today. And so I was in the mood for a mule. So I was like, what does a Mezcal Mule taste like? I think that would be fantastic. And Hillary's like, no, you're doing tequila. And I was like, okay, fine. Again, how we came to split the difference on 1 ounce and 1 ounce. So I'm going to do a Mexico Mule, let's call it. So it's going to be splitting the difference among a lot of different things. Hillary bought us some really nice new glassware. Check this out. So this is a margarita glass, which is what we're going to serve it in, because we are not going to put it on ice, and it's got these bubbles in it, which is really kind of neat.
Tim's obsessed with the bubbles.
Huge weight. This has an amazing weight as a glass, which is really, really nice. So I'm going to this is a highball. So normally it would be served on ice, or it would be served very chilled in a Collins glass with no ice. So I'm messing with a lot of those standards. So I'm going to start by shaking all of my non-sparkling ingredients, strain that. I should have chilled this, didn't get around to that. And then I'm going to add my sparkling at the end. So I have my shaker already filled with ice. There you go. It's just white. There you go. And let's start with my smallest ingredient. I'm using Regatta ginger beer. This is something we've been experimenting with. And I think it's pretty decent. It's not terribly sweet. So I want to give this just a little bit of a sweet edge overall. So I'm going to do a half ounce. No, I'm not going to do a half ounce. I'm going to do a 1/4 ounce of simple. And that's where we're going to start this cocktail.
If you're using other ginger beers, you may want to either increase or even remove the simple syrup entirely. Mm-hmm. A lot of ginger beers are actually really sweet, or ginger ales are also sweeter.
Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Ginger ales and ginger beers in this country are not any good, are very rarely good anymore.
Well, you almost said not any good.
Not any good. I mean, there are so few. Okay, like you can try this. Take Canada Dry ginger ale, which is the #1 selling ginger ale. It no longer has ginger flavor. They admit it does not have ginger flavor anymore. It is literally sugar sparkling water. Nothing else in it. Compare that to a Werner's, which is high bitter ginger flavor. It's very sharp. It's very aggressive. Two completely different flavor profiles. Now, ginger beer originally was fermented and was alcoholic. Now, because of federal government regulations and taxes, there are two styles of ginger beer now in the United States: alcoholic and non-alcoholic. Non-alcoholic ginger beer is effectively indistinguishable from ginger ale, except that hopefully it does still bring a ginger flavor. So your ginger ale, ginger beer that you were working with is going to completely determine backing out everything else, like Hillary was just saying. If you have a sweeter, if you have a more bitter, if you have a more pungent, if you have a more sharp, you'll want to adjust your proportions accordingly. But this is not as sweet. It's got a beautiful ginger flavor on it. So I went with a 1/4 ounce of simple.
This one's not quite as strong on the ginger flavor as like the Werner's.
Right.
But both of those would work really well for this.
Yeah, Werner's would work great for this, honestly. And I had some limes that I thought, part of the reason I wanted to do this cocktail, I had some limes that I thought were totally gone and dried up. And then I went and made guacamole earlier and didn't need as much lime as I thought. So I had a bunch of lime left over. So I went ahead and pre-squeezed that. And I'm going to now do a 1/2 ounce of my lime juice. Okay.
So we're at 1/4 ounce of simple syrup
Mhm.
and 1/2 ounce of lime juice.
Yes. Now I'm going to do 1 full ounce of Patron Añejo. And 1 full ounce, I have enough, yeah, I think I do, of my Casamigos Mezcal. Oh, smoked note on that is fantastic. Right,
This is going to be a great summer grilling drink.
Oh, yeah. There we go. You hear that? The ice all stuck to the top and it fell. All right. So now I got to do this thing. If I was being really fancy, I would double strain this, but I'm not being really fancy. The purpose of the double strain is to put a fine mesh strainer, and that gets you a perfectly clear liquid. If you do have solids, like I have, because I fresh squeezed my lime and I introduce sparkling together, you wind up potentially breaking your drink if you don't drink it fast enough, and you wind up with your solids either sinking to the bottom or floating to the top, and you wind up with stratification of your cocktail. But that's only if you let it sit long enough for that.
This might also still work better in the old glass. I just kind of was pushing him towards this glass to see what would happen, because this Crazy Cabin Fever Cocktails is always about experimenting.
That's what we got. Man, I can smell the ginger coming off this. This is really nice, actually. So now I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. So it's about half of this. So this is what, an 8 ounce?
We were using these earlier, so
7.5. So this is about 3 to 4 ounces of a nice semi-sweet, semi-sharp ginger ale, and then that integrated. I don't need to stir anything. I don't need to do anything at this point. I poured it slowly. It moved all the liquid properly. It is done and ready to drink. So let's give it a try. That's really good.
Do you want to talk a little bit about mezcal and tequila?
Minimally.
Very quickly.
So we're studying that. Distilled Living is now studying very heavily within our organization.
We do have one person who has actually been to tequila distilleries.
Yes.
And we have had several tequila events, but now we're kind of like diving into it hardcore.
Virtual tequila tasting company now.
And bourbon still.
So both tequila and mezcal must be products of Mexico. There is geo restriction even within Mexico about where things can be made and how the terminology that comes out of that. And they're both based upon agave plants. Now, ideally, it would be 100% blue agave, but there are different grades and different styles, and there's a lot of different complexity around exactly what you can call what over time. Now, one of the big differences with mezcal is that it is typically smoked. The agave, which is it looks like a cactus, but it's actually closer related to asparagus. I just found that out about 20 minutes ago. And it does produce a lot of sugar, but it has to be cooked forever to get the sugar into a fermentable format. And with most of your tequilas, that's just done in big vats, a lot of heat, like you would do sugarcane. With your mezcal, though, it is going to be smoked underground, and then introduces this incredibly rich, mesquite barbecue kind of flavor into your mezcal. It's why it is too smoky for a lot of people just to do it straight, but it brings a really, really cool smoke flavor to cocktails without having to work with the fancy smoking guns and smoking boards and things of that nature. I think it's really, really delicious. And then within tequila, there are a couple of different grades or styles. There is Blanco, which is unaged. And there is within that there's silver and gold. The difference between silver and gold tequila is that gold has caramel color. That's it. And then you move up, you get to Reposado, which, like bourbon, is one of the few spirits in the world that cannot have additives for color or flavor. And that is rested or aged for a short period of time. I want to say it's like 4 months to 2 years, but don't quote me on that. But somewhere around that time frame for your reposado tequilas. And that is a favorite of people who are very careful about what they ingest, because it does not have any additives allowable by law. And then añejo, which I believe must be rested 2 years or longer. And then there's extra añejo, which I think is 5 years or more, but we'll double check those. So this is Patron Añejo. You can see the color. I don't believe that has added caramel color. It's much much more of a golden straw than a dark burnt sugar. But they have the option. So that's just a brief explanation of tequila and mezcal. There is way much more than that, but for purposes of this cocktail and doing what I call Mexico Mule, I think that is sufficient. Cheers.
And probably as always, you will hear from us again next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to try to probably get a couple of other presenters to do a couple more videos. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. And as always, if you have recommendations or questions or weird ingredients you want us to try to work in, please let us know. And yeah, I know we didn't do bourbon this week, but surprise.
Right. Tequila's the new bourbon. Heard it here first.
He's going to say that all the time.
It didn't come from me either. I'll.
It's going to anger all the bourbon enthusiasts.
Yeah, probably will. I will credit that source later on in another show. All right. Cheers and good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.